A lone African captain faced the world's most powerful chamber. His words will shatter your heart and ignite your soul. The chamber felt like a tomb, not from the hum of air conditioning, but from the weight of cold, piercing stares. Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood at the entrance of the U.S. Congress, his military boots echoing faintly on polished marble. Every gaze turned to him, some curious, others laced with quiet contempt, a few slicing through him as if he were invisible. He walked alone, unbowed. A murmur rippled through the hall, journalists whispering, lawmakers exchanging glances. "Is this him?" one muttered. "Why invite him?" a senator hissed to an aide. Traoré's face betrayed nothing, no flinch, no blink. His back was ramrod straight, eyes fixed ahead, his desert brown uniform and signature beret a defiant emblem of the Sahel, of resistance, of unyielding pride. He wasn't here to beg. He was here to speak truth. In the audience, Janelle, a young African-American intern, watched him stride forward, her chest tightening. Tears welled without warning. His presence stirred something deep, echoing her grandfather's words. When truth enters a den of liars, even silence quakes. Today, that silence was about to roar. The speaker's gavel rapped thrice, sharp and hollow. "We welcome Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso." A smattering of polite claps followed, but most sat silent, arms crossed, faces blank. Traoré ascended to the podium, cameras zooming, phones streaming live across the globe. Some officials leaned back, skeptical, dismissive. He surveyed the sea of faces, bored, defiant, indifferent, then spoke, his voice soft yet piercing. "I come not to plead but to remind." The room stilled, a collective breath held. For too long, Africa has been your project, not your partner. Our wealth plundered, our people discarded, our leaders toppled for daring to stand. A senator snorted, another rolled his eyes, but Traoré's words cut deeper. "We are not your experiments. We are not your scraps. We are not your silence." An awkward cough broke the tension, but Janelle, in the press box, leaned forward, breathless. His voice sharpened, a blade honed by pain. "My people mine gold yet sleep hungry. We pump oil yet walk in darkness. Why?" He paused, the question a wound. "Because we were taught to thank you for chains, so long as they gleamed like silk." Gasps punctured the air. The chamber turned to ice, tension coiling tight, as if the room itself clenched its jaw. Traoré scanned the faces, then leaned into the microphone, voice low but searing. "My mother walked 5 kilometers daily, water balanced on her head, not for lack of rivers, but because pipelines fed your minds, not our villages." A senator muttered, irritated. Traoré pressed on, unyielding. "My uncle fell to terrorists, their bullets forged in your factories." The silence that followed was deafening. The room shifted. Some sat straighter, others squirmed. A white-haired congressman stared at his lap, uneasy. "I ask you," Traoré said, voice rising, "how can peace thrive where dignity is crushed?" The chamber's heartbeat pulsed, raw and exposed. Then he did the unthinkable, pointing at a congressman. "You preach democracy, but when Africa elects leaders who defy your grip, they are branded dictators." Dead silence. Janelle wiped a tear. A cameraman did too. Traoré's calm was... What stung most, like truth had stormed a stage of pretense and torched the facade. The speaker reached for the gavel, but Traoré's voice held firm. "Do not silence me. I haven't buried my people yet." His eyes burned into the crowd. "I am not just a soldier. I am the grandson of a man erased from history for standing tall." He slowed, breath heavy. His name was Sadu. In 1961, he led a peaceful protest, asking for schools, not soldiers, wells, not weapons. A screen behind him flickered, showing a grainy black and white photo. An African man face down in dust, a bloodied cloth draped over him. Gasps rippled, jaws tightened. They called it a riot, claimed it was necessary force. My grandmother watched him rot under a mango tree. No ambulance came for a rebel. Congressmen averted their eyes from the screen. Traore's voice trembled, just for a moment. You say never forget in America, but for Africa, you forgot everything. He let the silence breathe, heavy with shame. I'm not here to accuse. I'm here to remind you justice doesn't fade because it's spoken with an accent. Janelle clutched her notebook, hands shaking. She wasn't just an intern. She was the daughter of a West African immigrant who'd crossed the Sahara barefoot, her brother strapped to her back, chasing safety. Those bedtime stories, whispered at funerals, now echoed on this stage. Traore spoke for her, for the lost. But not all felt it. Behind her, 2 aides snickered, masking it poorly. He rehearsed this like a Netflix drama, one whispered. Just chasing clout, said the other. Janelle's breath hitched. She glanced at them, then back to Traore, who now showed an image of a ruined classroom in Burkina Faso. This was a school, he said. Now it's rubble. Why? Because we asked for books, and you sent bullets. Janelle's tears turned to rage. She stood, silent but resolute, refusing to sit while truth bled. Traore lifted a creased laminated photo from under the podium. This is Awa, he said, voice cracking. 7 years old. She died carrying water, stepping on a landmine. The screen displayed her tiny, tattered pink sandals, one stained with dried blood. Gasps rose. Some turned away. A woman in the front row stifled a sob. She wasn't a soldier, Traore said. She just wanted to help her mother before sunset. That landmine wasn't African-made or buried. It exploded on our soil, and no one answered for it. He paused, eyes piercing. If Awa had blue eyes, would her story have made your news? The silence was lethal. No one moved. The speaker sat frozen, gavel untouched. Janelle whispered, "This isn't a speech, it's a mirror." Traore drew a yellowed paper from his pocket, hands steady but voice heavy. "This is from Musa, age 14, he said, unfolding it. "Dear President Traore, if I die, don't let it be for nothing. Tell them we're not dogs, not dirt. We're children, like theirs." His voice faltered. Musa wrote this hiding in a church as gunmen attacked his village. A priest found it in his sock. Musa died shielding his sister. Pain rippled through the chamber. "I carry this everywhere," Traore said, "because I promised Musa's mother, barefoot and weeping under a torn tarp, I'd read his words in the world's most powerful room. I chose this one. The room was captive, not out of duty, but because truth had invaded a space built on performance, and no one knew how to respond." The screen shifted to a girl, 6. With big eyes, dust on her cheeks, clutching a cracked bowl. "This is Miriam," Traore said. "She stood hours in the sun for one scoop of rice." He turned, voice deepening. "Poverty is your statistics. This is its face." Lawmakers lowered their gazes. Others leaned in, drawn despite themselves. "Miriam's father died in a gold mine collapse, owned by your companies. No safety gear, no compensation. They made $200 million that year. Miriam got nothing." His words cut like a blade. "She didn't want your pity. She wanted her father. Your systems gave her silence." An older congressman blinked back tears. Traore stood taller. "When you take gold and leave bones, don't call it business. Call it theft." The silence wasn't shocked now. It was ashamed. Janelle whispered, "They won't forget Miriam's face." Traore's voice softened, not lecturing but pleading. "I come not with hate, but with a cry from a continent you stopped hearing." He gestured to the chamber. "You wield power to shape laws, but power can deafen." He paused. And in that silence, children starve. A young congresswoman, a Kenyan immigrant's daughter, wiped her cheek, her father's moonlight water-carrying tales vivid in Traore's words. The camera caught red eyes, guilt, and a dawning respect. "I don't seek your money," Traore said. "I ask you to stop pretending Africa is broken. We're not broken. We're bleeding. A murmur rose, not from lawmakers but the press gallery, journalists scrambling to tweet. Africa has a roar trended globally. In Burkina Faso, radios crackled, villagers wept. Africa was speaking, and the world had to listen. A decorated U.S. general in the back row blinked rapidly, stoic face cracking. Traore's voice sliced through. When your bombs hit our villages, you call it peacekeeping. When we defend our homes, you call it rebellion. He faced the general. No disrespect, sir, but I buried children torn by drones. Whose mistake was that? The general's jaw tightened, eyes glistening. I fought for freedom, he muttered, but maybe we forgot theirs. Cameras zoomed. A soldier's tears, a global headline. Traore continued. Each burned school I pass screams your democracy's cost. It shouldn't bring ashes and graves. The general bowed his head, an image seared into history. The world's mightiest soldier humbled by an African captain. Mid-speech, heels clicked. Congresswoman Ellen Monroe, an Ohio conservative who'd opposed Traore's visit, slipped in late, skeptical. Traore changed slides, a side-by-side of two mothers, one Burkinabe, one Ohioan, both mourning sons. Aminata's boy died mining cobalt for your batteries, he said. Lauren's son overdosed, forgotten after Afghanistan. Ellen froze. This, Traore said, is what power does when it forgets people. The chamber held its breath. Your system devours its poor, he added, glancing at Ellen. Ours buries them faster. Her arms, once crossed, fell. A tear traced her cheek. I don't shame you, Traore said. I remind you, we're all losing our sons. Ellen couldn't speak. Her skepticism shattered. Backstage, a White House aide's phone buzzed relentlessly. Social media blazed. A retired U.S. diplomat's viral post confessed, in 2009 I signed a deal giving a U.S. firm 500,000 acres in Burkina Faso. We called it investment. It left villages homeless. I was wrong. I'm sorry. It hit 3 million views in an hour. Traore, unaware, spoke on, telling of Assouf, who sold his cow for his daughter's school fees. She died in a hospital without medicine, while an NGO imported office chairs costing more than her life. Gasps echoed, the world shifting beneath the chamber's feet. A thunderclap broke the spell. Congressman Brad Hensley, a wealthy Texan, stood, red-faced, trembling. This man insults America on our soil, he bellowed. You should thank us for letting you speak. Cameras flashed, gasps rose. Traore stepped forward, calm but unyielding. Sir, you invited me to speak truth, or did you only want flattery? Hensley slammed his desk. You're here by our generosity. Traore's eyes flashed. No, Congressman. I'm here because my people found their voice and we're done whispering. He struck. In 2018, your company seized 10,000 hectares in Burkina Faso. Families displaced, rivers poisoned. My uncle lost everything. Silence crashed. Hensley sat, shaken, recalling that deal, and the boy who never forgot. Traore's words weren't just a speech, they were fire, igniting children watching across Africa, from Ouagadougou's barefoot Adama to a Ugandan girl asking, "Can he say that to America?" Her mother, tearful, nodded. "That's courage, baby." Traore's tone softened. "I don't curse your nation. I believe we can be better, all of us." That line, translated into Swahili, Hausa, Yoruba, French, Arabic, exploded on TikTok, African youth stitching it with their stories of poverty, pride, resistance, hope. A Sierra Leonean teen wrote, "I don't feel small, I feel seen." Traore fought not just for Burkina Faso, but for every African child silenced. As his speech neared its end, the chamber grew eerily still, lights seeming to dim. "This isn't a war of guns," he said, "but of dignity." From his pocket, he drew a tiny, faded school uniform. "My cousin Awa wore this," he said. 12 when her school was bombed, a drone strike meant for insurgents. Silence screamed. No ambassador, company, or pilot apologized. Just dirt, fire, silence. A tear fell down his cheek. then another in the room and another. A congresswoman sobbed, a senator's glasses trembled. Traore's grief wasn't for pity, it was so the world would never forget African pain. Millions whispered, "This day is eternal." Then chaos. A staffer rushed in, whispering to the speaker. Live feeds flickered, phones buzzed. A leaked document surfaced, exposing U.S. companies backing mercenaries in Burkina Faso a decade ago for cheap gold access, implicating 4 sitting congressmen, a retired general, and an energy giant. Traore, unaware, said softly, "I didn't come to break you. Truth finds its way." The chamber froze, even his critics transfixed. Outside, thousands protested in D.C., waving Burkina Faso flags, signs reading, "Stand with Africa." Traore placed a hand over his heart. For Awa, our land, the silence we'll never reclaim. The storm had begun, unstoppable. He took a final breath. "I don't beg for aid or applause. I'm here because the world must choose, profit or people, silence or justice." He stepped back. 3 seconds of stillness. Then, a clap. Congresswoman Lisa Morales, who'd lost a son to a drone strike she once backed, tears streaming. Another clap, then another. The chamber rose, even detractors, because truth demands no permission. Outside, streets roared. In African villages, power flickered as crowds leapt around solar TVs. "A Malian," boy shouted. "He made them listen." In Nairobi, students wept. In Paris, Africans danced. History was carved. As Traore left, a journalist shouted, "What will your speech change?" He paused, facing the camera. "Not your pity, your respect. Africa isn't your shadow. We're the sun. You just haven't looked." He raised Awa's photo, her smile radiant, hands like wings. "She dreamed of being a doctor, maybe for your children. Now she's a memory." His voice broke. "No more children should die for your contracts." A tear fell. "If this world has a heart, let it beat for the forgotten." The screen faded to black. If this story pierced your soul, if you wept, if you felt seen, hit like now. Comment what broke you most. If you believe in truth, courage, justice, subscribe. We'll keep telling stories the world tries to bury. Awa's voice lives in us.